Okay, we're live. Time to sign into the chat here. Thinking I should drop dead. Eat shit, go to hell. I could jump. Oh, I need to close all these fucking doors. Thinking I should drop dead. Eat shit, go to hell. I could jump head first out the window. Dark thoughts keep up, filling up in my mind. Whoa. Kinda wanna get fucked, make love to a chainsaw, wrap my drop top round a lamppost. Not sure I'll be coming back down this time. That's the new Bring Me the Horizon song, and I love it. It's really good. It starts off with like this Oasis vibe, but then has all these emo lyrics, you know? Oh shit, I should. Why isn't chat? There we go. Okay, I have the chat going now. Kinda wanna cat. Okay. Oops. I got a paper towel here. Anyway. Thinking I should drop dead. Eat shit, go to hell. I could jump head first out the window. I love that. Hi, Miss Colston. Hello, happy day. Today is actually the anniversary of my father's suicide. But like, typically Memorial Day is like the big day for me. Like, that's the day we used to go visit his grave and all that shit. So, Memorial Day, oddly enough, is a little bit more emotional. But it's just interesting that today is that anniversary. Always is June 3rd. It's been 21 years. 21 years. And that was a real weird night. I was 20 years old, right? When it happened. And I was partying. I was down at my house, or, my apartment I shared with some other crazy folks. We were on mushrooms. We were on ecstasy. We were on cocaine. We were on, smoking weed. Drunk, right? But a great combination, right? Mushrooms, ecstasy, cocaine. And drunk. Like my eyes were the size of dinner plates. And my stepmom called me as we're partying here. We have like a DJ. Oh, one of our friends was a DJ. And I suddenly get a call from my stepmom, you know. And she says, I went by Frankie back then. No one started calling me my birth name until my dad died. But my stepmom called me and said, Frankie, your father's dead. Like in the weirdest way, it was very strange. And so, of course, I said no, and I got in the car, and I sped up there because they lived about 30 minutes away. I was in my underwear. It was wild. And I got there, and there was, police tape all around, and the cops were there and everything. And I said, That's my dad in there. Is he still alive? And they looked at me and looked down. And I rushed, right? I rushed to get past the line of cops. And this is how I'm super white, because all they did was hold me back, and they were very gentle with me. But meanwhile, I'm in my underwear. I'm sure I smelled like alcohol, and my eyes were the size of dinner plates from ecstasy, mushrooms, and cocaine. I was seeing all kinds of other stuff going on. So this was a very bad trip. It was a very surreal experience, you see. So, um, gosh, it was such a weird night. And then, I go back and, needless to say, the party has been soured. So everyone's just kind of standing around like, WTF? What the fuck is going on? So very strange. Anyway, very strange. I just felt like I needed to mention that because, well, it's the anniversary. So, and I'm sorry I'm not wearing a bra, but oh, Anyway, We'll look at charts in just a second if anyone wants to contribute. I don't even know if anyone's really here. I know Miss Colston's there. I see Neen. Hello, sweetheart. Amber was supposed to be here. But, yeah. Whatever you need to do, Amby. Whatever you need to do. There's a lot of big stuff going on. Besides the anniversary of my dad's suicide. I loved my dad a lot. I really do miss him. I'm sort of nonchalant about it all now, you know, because it's been 21 years. But I really do miss him. He was an amazing man. You know, very amazing man. He was a Libra sun, Scorpio moon, Sagittarius rising. You know, he was a colonel in the United States Army, but he was also, you know, a surgeon. And, excuse me. And he had a really amazing career, you know. But he had very bad luck with women. He was married 3 times to 3, you know, very abusive people, you know. So, oh, well, thank you. You don't have to be sorry, Neen. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I just felt like I should probably share it, you know. And it's interesting because if you look at my chart, my 8th house ruler is Mercury, because Virgo, Aquarius rising. And Mercury's in the 4th house of the father and retrograde. Now, Mercury isn't necessarily unhappy. Like, right? Being angular in the 4th house is pretty good and pretty powerful. However, it's the 8th house ruler. And I do often see people with a retrograde or ill-dignified 8th house ruler in a particular house experiencing a death of someone indicated by the meanings of that house. It's really interesting. You know, for example, I see people with the 5th house ruler in the 8th house. Yeah. The 5th house is children. The 8th house is death. And I see people who've had miscarriages, right? Who've had miscarriages. Now, there's plenty of times when that doesn't work out, especially when the ruler is very happy, you know. You know, if the 5th house ruler's in the 8th house but very happy, it could be other stuff, you know. Kid who's relatively successful or good with money, you know. Other people's money. Or a kid who's a successful criminal, you know. Like, that's not too bad. Like, you know, remember Kill Bill, right? Oren Ishii, she becomes head of the Yakuza, right? And she's part American and part Chinese also. But somehow she becomes head of the Yakuza. I mean, that's the kind of thing I think of, with a very well-dignified 5th house ruler in the 8th house. Anyway. Yeah, my dad was a military person, world traveler. The thing was, though, is he was a genius. Especially when it came to history, spirituality, world religions, all that. He was very Catholic, you know, and very conservative. But he very much respected other religions and wanted me to learn about them. So I had to learn the 5 pillars of Islam by the time I was 11 years old. That's my daughter's age. You know, I should be doing the same thing with her. You know, because at the time, it felt oppressive, like, oh gosh, I have to do this, but I also loved it. And I'm very grateful in retrospect because, you know, I can usually talk about just about anything with most people. And it gave me a love of learning. So Miss Colston says, how do you know if a ruler is happy? It's called dignity, Ms. Colston. Do you have any dignity? Do you not have any dignity, sir? Right? I think that's what... Who was it that said that to Joseph McCarthy? No, decency. He said decency. Do you not have any decency, sir? To Joe McCarthy. But in astrology, one of the most important things is planetary condition. And one of the main things that goes into planetary condition is dignity. And that's how happy a planet is, right? And by happy, I mean how well it can express its essential nature, right? What it's known for, essentially. It's essential. Its basic significations. So what makes a planet happy? Well, what makes you happy or comfortable? Typically, it's being in your own fucking home, isn't it? right? Being in your own house. Like, oh, I could do whatever I want. I have my stuff. I have everything arranged the way I want it. Like, I can be myself in my own home. If you can't be yourself in your own home, you better figure that shit out. But that's the archetype here. So that's why we call planets in the signs that they rule, we call that domicile. Because what's a domicile? It's a fucking house, yo. So it's like the planet is in its own home. And it can do what? Express itself most naturally. For example, Venus in Taurus or Venus in Libra is in her own home. And she can be herself the best she can, right? Venus in Taurus expresses the acquisitiveness and the sensuality and the tactile sort of harmony and desire nature of Venus. Whereas Libra represents sort of the beauty, the social grace, the relationship side of Venus, you see? And this is why I don't use modern rulerships. Every sign in ancient astrology, every planet rules 2 signs in ancient astrology, and that was based on the original rationale behind this whole thing. You see? And it's a very elegant, symmetrical system. And there's a lot of meaning behind it. Because then you can see that the opposite signs, right, represent detriment or what was called exile. And those were the signs where the planet significations were turned on its head, right? So think about Venus in the opposite sign of Libra, Aries. Is there social grace there? Not typically. I mean, you could have a Venus in Aries who might be a little socially graceful, but there's always going to be a brashness to how they approach relationships. There's always going to be perhaps an abrasiveness or a forward type thing going on, right? Because the Venus diplomacy and awareness of social norms is turned on its head, you see? So Venus is not very happy there. And the same thing with Scorpio, right? Where Venus in Taurus is very sort of sensual and can sort of easily get partners oftentimes. Venus in Taurus sort of, attracts people. And it's an attractive placement. And appreciates, what it has. Whereas Venus in Scorpio gets weird, creepy, obsessive. They sort of view people in relationships with a predatory manner. I often fall in love with Scorpio Venuses. Oftentimes it's trying my Cancer Venus. Yeah, we'll do readings. Just start putting your information in the chat. You have to put your information in the chat. And I'll start doing readings in a second. But I thought this was a fun thing to talk about. Because synastry is one of my specialities, of course. But we're talking about the rationale behind the zodiac and the rulers of the signs. And we're not going to talk about the source of that right now because it's quite important, but we'll go off into another, direction here. But what's important to understand is that the opposite signs of a planet's rulership are called its exile or detriment. Because the planet feels very uncomfortable and is not happy and can't express itself properly. So it does all sorts of weird things that it's not used to. And it does them very poorly because they are not used to them. You can think of the Jupiter-ruled signs, Pisces and Sagittarius, are opposite both Mercury-ruled signs. It's the tension between knowledge and wisdom, isn't it? And the recognition of the difference between the two. You see? Excuse me. So we could do that with every planet and every sign. But we'll start doing people's stuff here, because it's her. And people are like, shut the fuck up, Saturn girl. Look at my chart. Don't talk about your nerd shit. There we go with that nerd shit again, Saturn girl. Shut the fuck up and read my chart. It's probably not what you say or think, but it's what I hear. That's what I hear, in my head. It's what I hear in my head. And remember, fuck, yo. It's Solar Fire doing some weird shit. So remember, I love donations or tips. Please tip me. Give me the tip. Or a little bit more. You know. I can take the tip or I can take the whole thing. You know. I rode horses growing up. And anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Posting trot. But you can tip me, please, by using super thanks below. I give priority to members and tippers, which is why we're going to look at Ms. Colston first and then start going to other people's shit. But yes, I love to, I love just being on the verge of the event horizon before you go into the black hole. Anyway, God, that sounds like nerdy dirty, doesn't it? Nerdy dirty. And please like the stream. Subscribe to my fucking channel if you haven't already, please. Because I need the help. I need the help. Please. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Some nerd shit too, isn't it? Star Wars is stupid now. I'm sorry, but it is. I really didn't get into it. Like, episode 1 came out when I was a kid. When I was a teenager, I guess. And I remember thinking, okay, this is dumb. Like, I'm so over this shit. I'm so over this shit. Wait, where the fuck is Miss Colston? There we go. What the fuck, yo? Why ain't it showing up? Come on, homie. Come on, homie. Oh my god. Solar Fire. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you glitching? Are you glitching? Are you glitching right now? Oh my fucking god. Do not make me Control-Alt-Delete. I can't do this right now. Oh my god. Solar Fire, you piece of shit. I hope I'm still alive. I hope I'm still alive. In Latvia, you can't tip. That's okay. There's all kinds of weird stuff between international zones. But I'm glad you're here. I love the Baltic states. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. Thank you, Neen. Thank you, Neen. I'm opening Solar Fire back up because it's being a motherfucker. Yeah. You goddamn piece of shit. Miss Colston. Okay. Oh my god. This... Ooh. Where's my nerdy ass brother? Thank you, Miss Colston. Thank you, Miss Colston. And thank you, Toxic, for letting me know the Baltic states. Like, why is not this thing showing? Oh my god. Things are against me. Things are against me. Why the fuck isn't it showing the goddamn chart, yo? Let's do this shit again, homie. There was a jocular or joke, oh my god, French philosophy, called resistentialism. Oh my fucking god, why does it keep showing half the goddamn chart? Oh my god. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. Like, why is everything fucking shitty? What is going on here? Like, I'm using Streamlabs. I'm using Streamlabs and like, I don't know why it's not displaying the chart. MZ Colston. This is such a fucking... I swear to God. If you don't display the whole goddamn thing... Ugh. Well, it didn't display like the bottom quarter. Whatever. I'm just gonna go with it like that. I mean, the big important thing that's going on right now is the Venus superior conjunction. So I've talked about this quite a bit, the Venus cycle. The synodic cycle, right? That's the relationship between Venus and the Sun, between one conjunction to the other. And not just any conjunction, but you use Google Pay. Thank you, Neen. Thank you so much. Thank you. I will get to you right after Ms. Colston, who is a member of my channel. And you can become a member of my channel too. There's memberships below. I really appreciate it because it keeps me doing all this nonsense. But there's all kinds of fun perks too. So I prioritize members, of course. But we'll talk about all that stuff later. In the meantime, right now, for Ms. Colston, the superior conjunction of... See, the thing about the superior conjunction of Venus is within the symbolism of the Venus cycle. Oh, you were letting toxic know. Yeah, I'm sorry. Within the context of the Venus cycle, though, there are two conjunctions. Because you see, Venus is closer to the Sun than the Earth. So, she's never more than 48 degrees away. So she'll make a conjunction with the Sun, where the Earth is sort of between, she'll make a conjunction with the Sun, where she's behind the Sun relative to the Earth, and one where she's closer to the Earth, right? I hope that makes sense, right? So there's a conjunction where the Sun is between the Earth and Venus, and then there's a conjunction where Venus is between the Earth and the Sun, right? So you can think of it a bit like lunar phases, So it's like the inferior conjunction is a new Venus, and the superior conjunction is like a full Venus, so to speak. And the superior conjunction within the context of the myth of Inanna, my mama, has to do with relationships. And not just romantic relationships, but, being interdependent or dependent on others and recognizing that, There's a blissful naivety about it. It's sort of like starting back over, To me, within the context of the myth and the meaning, it represents a new beginning, right? So, whatever house this happens in for you is going to indicate sort of where you're... Thank you, Toxic. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Wherever this occurs represents what sort of relationships and dependency, which I don't mean in a bad way, just the recognition that you need other people. You can't just do everything alone because none of us is a rock nor an island. So in the case of Ms. Colston, right, there's a certain sense of self-reliance, right, because it's the 12th house. And it's a reliance upon being able to reflect. And I think we talked about this quite a bit, so I shouldn't belabor all that sort of thing. But there's a reliance on being able to reflect on yourself. Both the 1st and the 12th house have to do with the relationship to self. But the 12th house has to do with the deconstruction of that self. So it's recognizing the two. How you experience this thing, right? Its vices. The stuff that holds you back, perhaps, or makes you feel inadequate, or I think the best way to put it is the stuff that holds you back, fears and whatever, hang-ups, trauma. Oh yeah, please watch my video on Inanna. I need to do more videos on Inanna. But anyway, so you see, this is all about recognizing who you wish to be, which is really who you already are. It's just putting the work into your personal self in order for it to reflect that desire, you see? And that's very important. Whereas in the 1st house for Gemini risings, this is about building oneself back up, as opposed to taking oneself apart to see the destructive behavior or the ways that we've held ourselves back, right? So it's the relationship with the self, mostly in the 12th and first house. It's just the different ways of the self, you see. So anyway, let's move on to the next person. Let's move on to the next person. So who was after? We have toxic. Oh, wait, no, Neen. Neen's first. Neen. Let's go to Neen. Neen. Oh, we have a Taurus. We have a Taurus. May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with you. Speaking of Star Wars bullshit, gotta stop with that nonsense. And we have Neen from Inuvik. NWT is Northwest Territory. Is that what that is? So is this Canada? Motherfuck you. The fuck, yo? 9:55 p.m. So please, everyone, do date, time, city. Date, time, city. Date, time, city. Please, because I'm neurodivergent, and like I do things in like the order I get them, and that just screws me up here. So please, date, time, city. Date, time, city. Date, time, city. It really helps me. Because I get wackadoodle. Neen. Inuvik. Northwest Territory. I assume that's Canada. Yes, it looks like it is. It looks like it is. Was that Canada? Was that Canada? Canada? Okay. Thank you so much. So anyway, Neen. Oh, wait. Let's make sure we do this like this. And put the chart up on the screen. There it is. We have a Libra rising. And see, this is a wonderful case. You know why? Because this person has 29 degrees Libra as their ascendant. And if you do a quadrant house system, like say Placidus, which is the default house system on most astrology apps, you're going to have the first house set at the ascendant degree. I do whole sign houses. It's the original house system. And to me, it works the best. But people say, oh my God, though, but I have a 29 degrees ascendant. And I'm like, so, a needle pulling thread. Far, long way to run. Anyway. Oh, no, it's tea, a drink with jam and bread. Right? I think so. Anyway, I love the sound of music. But whole sign houses just work better. So I would look at the whole first house as Libra, even though they're the 29 degrees Libra rising. So you see that puts Pluto in the second house. The moon conjunct Saturn in the second house. I have the moon conjunct Saturn too. That's a rough one. Especially when you have a fucking Scorpio moon. At least mine's in Libra, which makes Saturn exalted. For you, that's a lot more difficult. And notice Neen is a full moon baby. They are a Taurus with the moon opposite, right? They were just sort of separating from a full moon. And full moon babies have something to prove. When I see a north node in the 8th house, which means the south node's in the 2nd house, I see someone who is learning about loss, is learning to let things go, which is interesting because Saturn in the 2nd house often means someone who grew up poor or with a lack of resources. Sometimes they're not poor, but their parents make them feel like they are. Like, no, we can't afford that. Like, no, just, let your sister use that too, or share with your brothers, or whatever, So it's learning to let go of acquisitiveness and learning to let go of the insecurity about material resources, or the insecurity right? The anxiety about having things and stuff. I mean, of course, we need things and stuff to live, right? But um, what was the saying? Fight Club. Remember the movie Fight Club? He says the things you own end up owning you. So if you're having anxiety around that, um, you're allowing it to control you. But like on a very practical level, like you need to survive. Like you need to have food, you need to have shelter, you need to have all these things. And feeling anxiety over that shouldn't even be a thing. Like no one should have to worry about what they're going to eat or where they're going to live or what they're going to put on, you know. I think that's even in the Gospels. So, but still, you see, there's an anxiety though or discomfort around having things. It seems like. But then as you get older, it's about letting go. You're born in 1985, so you're about you're a couple years younger than me. But the thing about an eighth house north node, like I said, is learning about letting go. Sometimes it's about death. And with your sun in the eighth house, that also indicates with the sun rules, where we got Leo, the 11th house. So maybe you had a friend die growing up. Sometimes you have a friend die before your Saturn return, before like age 29, 30 or whatever. Sometimes a friend passes away. So I don't know if that happened to you. But with 8th house sun people, you know, everyone wants to tell you their secrets. Like people can sense that you have trauma. And when you have when you have a Scorpio moon conjunct Saturn, you have some fucking trauma. Like don't fucking lie to me, yo. And when the moon is conjunct Saturn, I mean, I have that too. Oftentimes we see mental health issues like bipolar disorder, BPD features, stuff like that. We also see domineering or sometimes, dare I say, abusive mothers. That is a thing. It often is mama trauma. Mama trauma and the bipolar coaster. My love is like a bipolar coaster, baby, baby. Do you want to ride? It's fun. Just ask my ex-boyfriend. I shouldn't have said that's awful. My love is like a bipolar coaster, baby, baby. See, my Mars is 4 degrees Gemini, so our Marses are conjunct. We probably get along. And your sun is conjunct my Mercury. And my Mercury is conjunct your North Node. That's kind of interesting. And your moon is trine my Venus. So yeah, we would be homies. We would be homies. But you see, Venus is unhappy in Aries. So this gives you a lack of confidence, even though you might be a little bit brash. You might be a bit assertive, If you're a woman, men may be threatened by you a little bit. But you see, it's a very unhappy Venus and it's in the 7th house. So you have codependency issues probably. And a really shitty sense of confidence, I bet. And you might be always looking through for your value through other people, which never works. Like eventually we learn that, hopefully. And Mars in the 9th house, along with Chiron, typically doesn't have a good experience of religion growing up. I should move on to someone else's shit. Excuse me. You probably like romantic partners who are very deep or philosophical, That's probably or foreign people who speak foreign languages or in foreign cultures. Excuse me. But you see which is interesting because this whole superior conjunction thing is happening in your 9th house. And the 9th house is our spirituality, it's our worldview, it's our philosophy. There's got something stuck in my eye. Ugh. It can be the law, but typically it's someone's worldview. And to me, it's like the things that we really hold dear. It's our, it's our spiritual or lack thereof. I mean, because I have Saturn in the 9th house, so oftentimes I don't believe in anything. But it's our beliefs. It's what we believe in for, negatively or positively. So you're going to see a new emphasis on all this sort of thing. And with Jupiter here over the next year, this is a really fruitful time to explore new ways of, new belief systems, new religions, new types of spirituality or whatever. Changing your mind, right? In the Gospels, repentance, right? Repentance is how they translated the Greek word metanoia, which very literally means change of mind. So aside from a death, yeah, well, good. That's wonderful. Let's move on to the next person. After Neen, toxic. I'm toxic. I forget the lyrics to that Toxic song. The Britney Spears one, Toxic. I love that song. I'm toxic. Toxic. February 11th, that's 211. Steel Reserve. I used to drink Steel Reserve when I was younger, and that stuff was so bad. It was so bad. But I was like, like 20 years old or some shit. Legally, I was 21. February 11th, 1998. Riga. February 11th, 1998. 1925. Riga. Where the fuck is Riga? Wait, you said you were from Latvia, Toxic? Was that right? You're from Latvia, right? Okay, Latvia. Riga, Latvia. Yes, that's it. That's it, Toxic. The Toxic Avenger. Now the chart shit's fucking working. I hate technology. I really do. I mean, I love it. I love it, but I need someone to hold my hand. Like, I need people to do shit for me. I'm a Libra moon. Like, even when I get over codependency in relationships, I still have very practical codependency. Like, please, do this for me. Like, when I talk to customer service, I try not to get, like, too Karen-ish. But I'm always like, please, can you do this for me? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a dumb slut. I'm so sorry. Because I'm slow and like I hate figuring shit out. My little brother is a techie and he said to me today, he's like, wow, troubleshooting is like not your thing. I said, not unless I'm getting fucking paid for it. If I have to do it, I'll fucking do it. But, So anyway. Shani Swift says, do you take note of your synastry with charts you read as you go? Have always wondered with astrologers. If I notice shit, like not all the time. Not all the time, But if I see something glaring, yeah, I'll mention it. And I don't just like, think in my head. I usually say everything I'm thinking anyway. Like, I don't stay quiet about stuff. I'm not an introvert whatsoever. Although I do get drained by people. But if I see synastry, I'll be like, yo, we got this, We got this. Your Venus is conjunct my ascendant. You know what I mean? Neen says it's crazy how accurate the reading was. Great! Please tell other people. Because, I've got fucking 7 viewers here. I should have a lot more. I'm very cute. And I'm very fun. And I know my shit. Obviously, right? That's the thing about young astrologers, is they can learn technical shit, but they don't have the life experience to be able to put... See, I've been through a sufficient amount of trauma for someone, who's an American white person. But I've been through a fair amount of stuff, Like today's the anniversary of my dad's suicide. And that was a big deal, of course, but it also made me understand people who've been through that a lot better. I'm a survivor of sexual assault. 90% of my clients are women and almost all of them have been through sexual assault. When, it's a terrible thing I went through, but when you could share that with someone and you can have a shared sense of empathy, it puts them at ease. It makes them feel more They relate to you better. Makes you more relatable. And I always say to my clients too, I'm like, our pain and suffering can be a bridge into other people's hearts. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. You know? It's true. So, Neen said, I seen the Facebook photos you share of your dad. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, he was a pretty cool person. I mean, I love my mom too. And especially now our relationship's getting better. But when I was a kid, you know, my mom was rough. My mom was rough. And my dad was rough too, just, you know, not in a different way. It was more discipline. And Saturn girl loves discipline. Yes. Yes, I love discipline, even though I need to work on it still. But anyway, so for toxic, you have a 12th house moon. Neen says, I see how much you love him. Yeah, I really do love him a lot. Yeah, I do. I do, and I miss him. He probably would have freaked out when I came out as trans, but I don't know, though. I'm pretty fucking hot. At least I think so. And apparently loads of other girls do, so there is that. But Neen has North Node in the first house. And when I see people with a North Node in the first house, they often have shit in the 7th house. And lo and behold, we've got Mars and Jupiter in the 7th house. And then we have a 12th house moon in Leo. Excuse me. And then we got an 8th house Saturn. You see, the thing we find here is there's an issue with a sense of self-worth. There's an issue with the sense of self-worth deep down under everything else. 6th house sun too. You see? When the moon is in the 12th house, we often think of like mental health issues, drugs, alcohol, substances, things like that. You know, people who really need therapy oftentimes. It can be a very difficult placement to have the moon in the 12th house. And when the moon is in Leo, it craves a certain amount of attention and recognition. But when it's in the 12th house, there's a discomfort with that same desire. So you see, it's like a conflicting thing that we want. And so it makes us eternally uncomfortable. And we have to learn how to handle our anxiety. Right? So that's a big thing. I don't know if that's necessarily true of you, but that's one thing I see. And you're also basically a full moon baby. Just a couple hours. Oh, you have BPD. I mean, I'm diagnosed bipolar. But my last psychiatrist, before he diagnosed me bipolar, first had said BPD. But I don't have suicidal ideation. I don't have that, you know. In fact, like I'm very sort of I'm sort of self-aggrandizing for a BPD person. So he changed it. He said I'm like type 2 bipolar with BPD features. So I feel you. Like I understand. You know, and when we have the BPD thing, and you can see that with the 12th house moon, and you may have a little bit of the self-aggrandizing things, like, why don't people love me? You know, but there's the sense of abandonment. And there's a fear of being alone, you know, and there's a sense of trying to, exactly. Thankfully, I'm not suicidal either. Like, I'm way too into myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm way too into myself to be like that. But still, you know, we have this awful thing with confidence, don't we? And you probably experience it too. And really, I mean, it's a wide square. But you could say Pluto is square your ascendant, like I have too. Which on the one hand makes us beat ourselves up. But on the other hand, it makes us really into like power relations and shit. You know, it makes us very kinky oftentimes. Or it makes us possessive, you know, domineering. We usually can walk into a room and people just fucking hate us. Because even though you may have codependency issues, on that same token, you have a powerful presence and it probably upsets people. And I imagine you're very sexual. You know, even though you might be uncomfortable relating to people socially because it's a Capricorn Venus. Like you have um, a natural sexuality about you. Oh, you say that you can act confident, but inside you're shaking. Yeah, exactly. That's that sort of thing. That's what I'm getting at. Mars is opposite your ascendant, so you probably have dry skin. Need to moisturize. Need to moisturize. Yes, need to moisturize. Very important. Jupiter rules the seventh house and is in the seventh house. So to me, that says, like, you know what? A good relationship or marriage. God, I'm so tired. I was up till 3 in the. This has been my birthday weekend. I had my daughter the whole time my birthday was actually going on, which I loved. We went out to dinner. We went roller skating. We had so much fun. But I'm a fifth house Mars and Sun. Like, for my birthday, I need to have orgasms. Like, I need to have multiple orgasms from multiple people. So I had fun the other 3 days of the weekend. And it was wonderful. It was great. And that was my birthday celebration, but now I'm exhausted. I was up till 3 in the morning. Like 3 nights in a row. Apparently I love threes. All very nice people. All very nice people. Yeah, see, you have Venus in the fifth house. I have Mars and the Sun conjunct in the fifth house. Opposite Jupiter, So I have a pretty inflated, sex drive, libido. Excuse me. And so, yes, I had a wonderful weekend. But I have North Node in the fifth house too, so I have to watch out about that taking over. Just like you have the North Node in the first house, which to me indicates, you know what? You need to turn that codependency in the other direction. When the South Node's in the seventh house, it gives us that codependent tendency as we're growing up, as we're younger. And then after age 38 or so, you need to start being independent or learn about cultivating that sense of inner confidence, of inner strength, which only comes from doing shit, from accomplishing things. Like, so you can say, like, yeah, I did that. And once you can see that you did something, that's confidence, right? And then you have a very unhappy Saturn in the 8th house. That sucks. That sucks. And Saturn is square Venus, so you're awkward socially, but there would be difficulties with childbirth. I just have to say that right now. Either miscarriages, I typically see with that, or really painful issues with childbirth. So please be careful with child rearing. Please be very careful with child rearing. If you're going to have children, work with a doctor. Miss Colston says her North Node's in the 5th house as well. Yeah, so Ms. Colston, you know what I'm saying. You're probably a very sexual person or very childlike or both. It's a Benjamin Button type thing. We grow down as we grow up. We need to have fun and be childlike. You see? Let's see. I have been working on my independence, but it's challenging being alone. But it's also necessary. Yeah, I know. It's really tough. Like an 8th house Saturn is about letting go of things, to be honest with you. What you need to do is be more social and put yourself out there. Your whole chart is telling you to cultivate confidence. And it's one thing that you're being purposeful. Well, I don't believe in anything. But underlying astrology is the whole idea of like incarnations and, gods and all that fucking stuff. So if I was to look at the chart from that context, I would say, your destiny is sort of to build a confident personality that can go out and create constructive and fruitful relationships. Loving relationships, whether it's friendships or whatever. But I think more like marriages and partnerships. So that's something I think you need to, in my opinion, the chart is saying, like, let's work on your confidence. Let's work on your social skills and all that sort of thing so that we can, start making connections. And there's always going to be a part of you that's shaking inside with that 12th house moon. Of course. But you got to try. Even though the seventh house has Mars there, which often indicates there's some breakups. But you have to break a few eggs, to make a baby. That's bad. You want to make an omelet, right? So anyway, let's move on to the next person. Oh, well, you're having this whole conjunction thing in the 10th house, which is about making yourself visible, getting recognition. It doesn't really have to be career, although it mostly is, because that's what we're known for. But whatever it is, it's a skill or something that you do well, that you get recognized for. And over the next year, you're going to be gaining prominence. So, because Jupiter's going to be going through your 10th house. You may have issues with a parent, though, because Jupiter rules your 4th house. So just be aware, over the next year, there may be a health issue with a parent. But anyway, Jupiter also rules your 7th house. So like I said, partnerships, marriages, things like that. I'm not saying you're going to get married necessarily, but you could meet someone. You could get a new job, a new career direction. Your life could change directions in many ways. And let's go on to the next person. Who's next? Neen Toxic. You've got Malia. Malia, are you still here? Malia, are you still here? Malia, are you still here? Malia. Who the fuck is texting me? Let's see. Who is texting me? Oh. It's a couple that I used to fuck with. Oh, that's fun. I'll respond in just a little bit. That's fun. It's really interesting. Like, I used to fuck with a lot of couples, but it's been more one-on-one lately. Like, I typically don't like cis men by themselves, but in couples, I'm cool. In couples, I'm cool. That's probably too much information, but, Let's move on to the next person. Malia, are you still here? Amanda, nice to see you, sweetheart. Malia, are you still here? Molly. Amber, you just showed up now. You're like, oh, I can moderate. Well, you started moderating halfway through the motherfucking thing. But I'm glad you're here because I love you. Ooh, Katrina is from San Diego. Katrina, can you please put your birth time? Like, I need your birth time. I really need your birth time. I'm going to skip Malia until Malia says, hey, I'm here. Nostalgia Koala from Tunis. You are from Tunis. Look at you. All right. So we have Koala from Tunis. And remember, date, time, city. Date, time, city. Date, time, city. I really, 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 really appreciate that. I need date, time, city in that order because I'm slow. I'm a bear, very little brain. Koala. Nostalgia Koala. And Tunis. Tunis. Oh my gosh. I just got 2 texts from 2 different lovers. That's very nice. Very nice. While I'm online. Very cool. I wish they were here watching my live. That would be wonderful too. It's so exciting. I have a very hot couple on one hand and a very hot other young lady on another hand. So this is very exciting. This is fun for me. You see? Koala. So here, ugh, God damn it. Why is it not visible? Why is it not visible? It was like showing half the fucking thing. Okay, there we go. Oh, look at you, Koala. You got Pluto in the first house. In fact, your ascendant is flanked on either side by Pluto and Mars. This is very interesting. People always say, well, oh my gosh, you're a traditional type astrologer. So you don't look at Pluto or whatever. I'm like, yes, I do. I'm a Plutonian bitch, yo. I do look at Pluto. Especially when it's in the first house or aspecting the ascendant in some way. You see, this is a big deal because, again, it gives you a powerful presence. Now, with Mars conjunct the ascendant so closely, I'd imagine that you're sort of an aggressive or assertive person. And once again, you probably have dry skin. The interesting thing about this whole whatever is Saturn is in the 7th house, while Mars is in the 1st. And to me, this sort of indicates a sense of hyper-independence. And it might come from a sense of having been let down as a child. Oftentimes we learn when we are very young that we can't count on people. And in fact, we get very uneasy around trusting people in general. We don't trust people. But see, you have your moon conjunct Jupiter in the 7th house too. Now it's all Gemini. You're having your Jupiter return right now. But you see, moon in the 7th house is often codependent or a simp or whatever. And then conjunct Jupiter is oftentimes very, what's the word? Very honest, very naive, all that sort of thing. The 7th house ruler is Mercury, so you're going to have some bad breakups, You're going to have some bad breakups. Yeah, when you see Mars aspecting the ascendant or the sun, oftentimes there's dry skin, frizzy hair, you need moisturize. You need to moisturize, you see. You need to moisturize. So anyway, the sense of hyper-independence, as I said, comes from not being able to trust people. And with the North Node in the 8th house, you're learning to deal with loss. Venus in the 5th house also makes you quite sexual, but it might be hard to relate to people. So it might be very frustrating. You might need to masturbate a lot. Nothing wrong with that. But you probably long for a relationship. You might be in a long-term relationship now, but I would probably guess. I hope you're fucking here. Are you here? Are you even here? Koala? Is Koala here? Can you tell me? Because I don't want to Oh no, Koala is here. Okay, cool. No, nostalgia Koala, you told me Tunis, and I knew it was Tunisia. Because I'm a 9th house girl. And I'm one of the few Americans who's semi-aware of the rest of the world and its geography and its politics. Because of my dad, who is, a colonel in the United States military, which is not a great organization, but at the same time made me learn about all this stuff, you see. So most Americans would probably not know a whole lot about geography and politics in other countries, but I tried to be aware. I tried to be up to date on a lot of it. So. And quite frankly, North Africa is always sort of a big deal because it's right opposite, the Mediterranean coast. And you have all this. Anyway, we don't need to get into all that. But, people are very, very, very anti-immigrant in Europe. And that's a big source of the proliferation of right-wing nationalist fascist politics that's happening all over fucking Europe. It is. It's happening all over Europe. It's this combination of homophobia and transphobia, along with anti-immigrant ideas. And a lot of it started with the Syrian refugee crisis. You know, it did. Saturn go for president? I mean, I would, the first thing I would do would be Medicare for all in the United States. And then diplomatic world relations. Because, you can't be an isolated nation in an international community. And any sort of healthy nation needs to accept itself in the international community as a cooperative entity. But anyway, now I'm just preaching. You see, world affairs is sort of my first passion, and astrology sort of second. But you see here, we should go back to timing and all these sorts of things. And your chart and all that. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. I could always be a lot more educated. And I need to be more educated on African issues for sure. Like, I need to pay more attention to Africa. But you see, what the chart is telling us here is you have this sort of like tension between independence and wanting to connect with people. It might be difficult. You may feel quite socially awkward, you see, because the sun in the 6th house also either has there's a sense of facing incredible odds all the time. And sometimes it is quite submissive. And that may be uncomfortable for you too. That there's this tension between autonomy and the desire for someone to tell you what to do, perhaps. Oh, thank you, Koala. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, sweetheart. I need to go live more often. I need to start doing 2 hours of live 5 days a week and 2 hours of adult live 5 days a week, to really maximize my business here. To really maximize. Now, Mercury is your 7th house ruler in the 6th house. So that lends itself to breakups, as I said, divorces and stuff like that as well. But it's not all bad, because it can also mean that you need someone who's equally committed as you are, who can share in the day-to-day stuff with you, who can face challenges with you, and who may have an attitude of service about you too. That's very important. So now in terms of timing, you see all this stuff is happening in your 7th house. The Gemini thing. And by that I mean, the Venus superior conjunction. It's going to be conjunct your moon and your Jupiter. So this may be the year where you meet someone new. You might meet a long-term marriage or romantic partner in some way. So be open to that. Start putting yourself out there. Start trying to socialize with people and mingle with people, right? You're probably socially awkward because Venus rules your 11th house and is in Aries, right? So even though you might be sexual and want to connect, or enjoy pleasure, you might sabotage yourself in some ways. And you may still feel uncomfortable about it. Maybe you feel uncomfortable about your desires. I don't know. But you need to start being open. And being vulnerable with people. Maybe you're a flake with the Gemini moon. We rationalize everything. We need to move on to the next person. But you see what I'm saying? Like learning to be okay connecting with people and being vulnerable with people, you see? So anyway. Who is after Koala? Who is after Koala? Nostalgic Koala. Oh, we got Cole Pepper. Do I still have Cole Pepper here? Didn't I already have Cole Pepper's chart? Cole Pepper. Oh. Okay, Cole Pepper. Take on me, take on me, take me on, take on me, I'll be gone. I really want to do that high note, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Oh, and Culpepper did Daytime City. Thank you so much. You did Daytime City. Daytime City. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy, Culpepper. Daytime City. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, now we have a Gemini rising with Saturn in the first house. And, oh my gosh, you were having a Venus Sun conjunction in the first house, Culpepper. Let's look and see. Let's see, 1972. 1972. So Venus, cycle dates. Was it in? Yes, it was here. It was here. Take on me, take on me, take me on, take on me, I'll be gone. Okay, what year? 1972. That was around the election. There was an election in 1972. What date? June 16th. You were born during the inferior conjunction of Venus. That is very cool. Look, you were born during the inferior conjunction. Very auspicious in some ways. Makes you way more independent. You see? Way more independent. Oftentimes. Which is sort of ironic. Being in the first house, yeah, very independent. But what makes the inferior conjunction is that Venus is always retrograde at the inferior conjunction. So there's always going to be a social awkwardness. Perhaps a difficulty with partners or the opposite sex or whoever you're interested in. And guess what? Saturn is in the first house too. What do we see with Saturn in the first house? We see codependency. We see people who try to find their value through other people. We see people who struggle with their sense of independence and identity, who struggle with confidence, you see? So on the one hand, you see the Sun and Venus in the first house and you think, oh, I bet Culpepper's hot as fuck. I bet Culpepper's the sexy, you know what. But Culpepper also, right? You'd expect to have a certain modicum of confidence, and you'd probably be right at one level. But at a deeper level, there is a sense of self-devaluation, probably. Beating yourself up, right? Like, you know, you're awful. You're an imposter. No one could ever like you. Like, you know, being shitty to ourselves in our own heads. Maybe you don't have that, but that's what I often see with that, to be honest with you. So, but the North Node is in the 8th house, similar to other charts we've seen tonight, which is all about learning to let go. It's learning to let go. Now, with Mars in the 2nd house, and a very unhappy Mars, by the way, you know, with Mars in the 2nd house, you'd expect to see people who have issues with money or have issues spending money or difficulty with money in some way. So that's really hard. That's really hard. But the primary psychological issue to me would be cultivating confidence and a sense of independence, right? It's like you're probably the kind of person that always wants to be given a gold star. You want other people to tell you, like, yes, you're good. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. I'm assuming you're a girl. I'm sorry. I have a hiatal hernia. You know, It's very hard to burp sometimes with the hiatal hernia. And so burping can feel like an orgasm, you know? So. But you see here, you have Pluto, square Venus, don't you? You're an obsessive lover. You're an obsessive lover. And you have your seventh house ruler, Jupiter, in the eighth house, retrograde. You like dangerous criminal type guys. Criminal, dangerous type guys. Either that or you had a partner pass away at some point. Or, you know, but usually it's people who like, you know, the bad boys or the bad girls, you know, the drug dealers, or, you know, those dudes outside the bathroom smoking a cigarette or flipping a coin. I mean, that's sort of archaic, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? The bad boys and girls. So, gold star. Yes, gold star, sweetheart. Wanting a gold star. Give me the gold star, Daddy. Give me the gold star. So anyway, but just in terms of timing, all the stuff is taking place in your first house, as we said, which is lending itself to a period in your life here with Jupiter going through your first house, where it puts you and your confidence and your sense of identity in center stage. So this is going to be a year of learning how to love yourself again, you see, or learning to at least appreciate your virtues and to exercise your virtues. And that's sort of where we understand, or we come to love ourselves, right? Where we come to take pride or confidence in what we do. But we should move on to the next person. We should move on to the next person. Who was that? That was Koala. And now we have Katrina Vega. Katrina Vega? You just gave me a time. Katrina Vega? Oh, there we go. Katrina Vega. It's from San Diego. San Diego. La Mesa. You're from La Mesa. I'm from Escondido. I know La Mesa. I dated girls in La Mesa. I dated girls in La Mesa. And it was a fucking 45-minute drive from where I was in Escondido. Fucking La Mesa. But yeah, I dated girls down in La Mesa. 92. Oh my gosh, you're almost 10 years younger than me. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Katrina Vega. 10:51 p.m. La Mesa. La Mesa. That's so cute. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I need to. Oh, it's so bad, but I need to. Are you still here? You better be here. Katrina, are you still here? Katrina, Katrina. Holler if you hear me. I need to go potty. Oh. What's that, cat? Oh, sorry, I had to do that. I was like holding it forever. Thank you, Culpepper. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Are you still here? Yo, if Katrina's not here, I'm not gonna do it. If Katrina's not here, I'm not gonna do it. Are you here, Katrina? Otherwise, I'm gonna move on to the next person. Malia left. Katrina left. Who is after Katrina? Who was after Katrina? I think it was Shani. Katrina, are you still here? Are you still here? Maybe I should drop dead. Eat shit, go to hell. I could jump head first out the window. Dark thoughts keep filling up in my mind. Kinda wanna get fucked. Make love to a chainsaw. Wrap my drop top round a lamppost. Shani! I will do Shani. Shani, Shani, Shani. I should have Shani's chart, shouldn't I? Shouldn't I? Shani. Oh, okay, I do have Shani. There we go. Oh, that's right, Scorpio rising. With that 12th house nonsense. You poor baby. If you haven't liked the stream, please like the stream. Please, please, please subscribe to my channel. But Shani, my darling, that whole mess. Ow, fuck my knee. Ow, Jesus. I rammed my knee into my desk. But you see, this whole Gemini nonsense is focused in your 8th house, isn't it? Which is, you know, it's very positive in many ways, but it's learning how to let go of the past, how to let go of shit that held you back, of course, right? This is sort of like a psychological reckoning in many ways. Like you're going to be forced to face things and feel things that you sort of maybe insulated yourself from, which can be very good because it brings you more in line with yourself. You know, you start to bring your mind and your emotions in sync, which they should be anyway, you know. And I'm sure you're accustomed to intellectualizing how you feel. But the most important thing here is going to be allowing yourself to feel and not so much dwell on it or think about it or, you know, sit there trying to pick it apart. It's not about that. You can't reason a feeling because there's no reason involved. It's irrational, but at the same time, it affects the very substance of your body. Our emotions and our feelings, as irrational as they are, they stimulate the matter of our bodies, for good or for ill, you see. Like, feeling a certain way can make you physically ill, can make you physically sick, you see. So this is something you have to be aware of, sweetheart, because this is a very fruitful, wonderful time, but it's going to be an internally focused one. This is a time when we bring the things that we've been hiding from ourselves up to the surface, where we have to look at stuff. And it's very beneficial because the way we get rid of an infection or a mold or something is by letting the light in, shining a light on it. Yes? Shining the light of attention on the darkness that we've avoided. So you see, there's a lot to be optimistic about, as difficult as this might seem or unpleasant as it may seem. But that's very important. Now, on the other hand, we've talked about this, I'm sure, too, but Mars is about to go through your 7th house later this month. So you must be aware that if you have current relationships, it's going to stimulate breakups or conflicts. If you don't, it's going to make you want to start relationships or to crave having that connection again, you see? So that's very important. In the midst of all this, though, are all the eclipses going through your 12th and 6th house over this year. And this is more reflective. It takes you out of public life or social life quite often. But I think you need to work on social life in general. Because you're not good with it. Your 11th house ruler is in your 12th house. Your Venus is in Leo in the 10th house. You can get a bit possessive of people, you know. Seems like eternal shadow work, but no, everyone has to do shadow work. And what does shadow work mean? It's self-understanding. I hate the term shadow work. I really do, because it gets like misused in the New Age community. In my tradition, it was called self-inquiry. And at its core, it really just had to do with putting the sense of attention on the sensation of being you. Once again, as I say all the time, that's the most mysterious thing. The fact that you are you and that you are here. How is that a thing? Go find that out, because that's the most interesting thing there is. Now you have Saturn trine the moon. So you do have the ability. You have the ability to constructively use the emotions, right? To understand why you feel and how you feel. And to make it useful to other people, not just yourself. You see, there's a grand trine here between Mercury, the moon, and Saturn. The sun's in there too, you see. YouTube got glitchy. I'm sorry, sweetheart. But this grand trine thing here is very interesting because you have a free flow between your mental nature, your emotional nature, and your need for discipline. So your ability to communicate something of the depths of experience, the ability to communicate things that other people don't recognize or can't experience or can't voice. We all experience these things. That was a stupid thing for me to say. But a lot of us can't articulate them, you see? And I think it's part of your job to be able to articulate something of these nebulous psychological experiences. The thing about Saturn in the 4th house, oftentimes I know I say it's, an abusive or absent father, but it's also a feeling like you don't have a home, like you're an eternal nomad, like you're an eternal exile. And so learning to realize that wherever you are, you're home. Right? A planet in exile is never home. Saturn for you is in his home. It's in the 4th house of home, and he's retrograde. But you have to remember, wherever you are home, because you are your home. That's the 4th house Saturn lesson, that you are always home. So anyway, who's still here? Who's still here? We got a couple people. If no one else has any chart stuff in there, I'm going to go ahead and go. I was waiting for Katrina Vega, and I was waiting for Malia. I did not see them respond. So if no one else has anything, I'm going to go ahead and go. I do look pretty cute right now, I must say. I do look pretty cute. At least I think so. That's what matters. Toxic says they're still here. Yay! Well, I'm just super hungry, my darlings, and I'm going to go ahead and go. I'll try and go live again tomorrow, though. For anyone who didn't get a chart reading, I'll plan on going live tomorrow, okay? I'll plan on going live tomorrow. And yes, I'm exhausted because I've been fucking all weekend. Which I'm so, I love that. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite hobby. My first favorite hobby is kinky. And my second favorite hobby is roller skating. So, yeah, it's been a wonderful weekend. And I love you all. And please come by tomorrow because I'll plan on going live tomorrow. And yes, we'll take on it. Take on me. Anyway,